We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. And also, always rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. What is going on, everybody? Bears win. Bears whoop up on the Bills. Backups inside of preseason action. But it still feels good. So everybody out there on YouTube, let me know what you think down below. I have a question out here for people that are watching. How would you grade Caleb Williams' performance out there? Because we saw the starters, and there was a rumor that it was going to be 18 snaps, and literally he played 18 snaps if you take out some of the penalty ones out there. But overall, Bears whoop up. Bears look good. And so today we're going to be talking about the Bears' victory. We'll also be breaking down the quarterback. What did it look like for Caleb Williams? How do we feel about Caleb Williams? Offensive stock up, offensive stock down, defensive stock up, defensive stock down. All the things that you need to know. And last but not least, crown our Bear of the game. Because today was fun. It was a fun preseason game. This is what it's all about. Seeing some of those backups really stand out, but also seeing the starters. Skokes, what is good, my friend? J2K Designs saying great game by Caleb. Right now, we got 67% grading it as an A and 33% grading it as a B. So let me know what you thought of that performance. So let's break this down. So Bears end up winning. Let's look at some of the stats out there. So when you look at the stats, what we see is that from a passing perspective, Caleb 4 of 7. When you factor in that there was also 2 drops out there, pretty good start to his career. Over a 100 quarterback rating. Austin Reed with 4 passes, 2 of 4 for 50 yards. Bajent 5 of 8 for 47. And Brett Rippon only 1 of 2 for 10 yards. But we flip over to the rushing performances. Our boy, Ian Wheeler that we were talking about, 5 carries, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns, running like an absolute workhorse out there. Velus at running back, averaging 5.7 yards a carry, 6 for 34. Khalil, not so great, 3.4 yards a carry on 9 carries for 31 yards. DeAndre Swift, 1 carry for 3 yards. And also Travis Homer, 4 for 18. Also, our quarterback, Caleb Williams, 1 of for 13. But when we look at the receivers, no one really had more than 3 catches except for Stephen Carlson, 3 catches for 18 yards and was targeted the most at 4 times. Next most, DJ Moore, 3 targets, 2 catches for 27 yards. Obviously, the 1 drop that went right into his breadbasket. And then Tommy Sweeney, next highest receiver with 2 receptions, 29 yards. Pettis had 1 for 34, and DeAndre Swift had 1 for 42. And if we flip over to the defense, we won't go through all of these people, but some of the key ones, Amen being the leader in tackles with 8 total tackles, 1 sack, 1 pass deflection, and 1 QB hit. Austin Booker, which we will talk about, 5 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackle for losses, 3 quarterback hits, and Daniel Hardy coming out of seemingly nowhere and getting 2.5 sacks, 2 tackle for losses, and 3 quarterback hits, as well as Khalid Kareem also getting a sack out there. Same thing with Zach Pickens getting a sack. A absolute sack party for the Chicago Bears there. So it was a fun game. It was a fun game to watch. I really enjoyed it, like I said. The first quarter, fun. And then later on, we got to see some more of the backups. And if you watch the show, you might have had the list out there so that you could kind of see who are the main people that you need to be keeping an eye out for. But let's talk about these starters and let's break down Caleb Williams. So Caleb Williams, we saw him out there. Like we said, he was had 3 total incompletions, 2 that were drops, and 1 that was just thrown over the head of Rome Odunze. I don't really think he was trying to throw it into the back of the end zone and try to have it caught, just was more trying to get it away. But let's talk a little bit about his overall performance, because this is my take, because this is my first time seeing him play in this sort of situation. Everything that I've reported is from someone else kind of talking about that. Now, I will actually see him again in training camp on Tuesday, but watching Caleb Williams and seeing what he's doing, first off, we got to give him some claps. Great, no false starts, no delays of game, because that was something that was brought up a lot. As a rookie, how is he going to look with his pre-snap motion and everything that happens pre-snap? There was also a play that you saw him call out the blitz and get the ball out quick. That is impressive for a rookie quarterback. In his first action that he's seeing, like he mentioned, since November, he's able to do something like that. And then you see what he was able to do outside of the pocket. The structure. And I'm watching it with my brother, with my dad, and we all of a sudden see that arm. And we see him just zip it in. This is what everyone's talking about. That he's able to just put the ball wherever he wants and just pop it right in. That throw to Cole Kmet along the sideline. Just to be able to see that, okay, you just see him whip it. And you don't see people really with that type of arm. That's what the rare ability is. And we've seen people like in Aaron Rodgers that it just seems like, oh, I have the ball. I'm going to put it exactly where I want to put it. And that's really what we saw today. Small sample size, but that's really what you saw. You saw the big playability. You saw his ability to get outside of the pocket. Also, on that scramble, you saw that people were coming around outside of him. And what did he do? He steps up, scrambles, and does phenomenal pocket presence yet again for a rookie to do that. And then go up and get some good yards. Slide down. The slide was a little bit shaky. He needs to hit the slip and slide a little bit more. But it was a really, really good just performance that he had. Now, I'm not just going to gush and not critique his performance. I do think that the question that I still have, or the thing that he needs to work on, it's not really like a question, it's something that he needs to work on, is when he's inside of the pocket. Because when you look at what he did inside of the pocket, and you look at all of his throws that he made, a lot of those throws were outside of the pocket. So something that he just needs to do is just kind of work when he's back in that pocket, because the first couple throws, I don't know about any of you guys, I was kind of going, throw it. It's a little long. It's taking you a little bit. Come on, man. Like, you can't be doing this. Not another one. But no, later on when he got used to it, you saw the ball coming out a little quicker. So let's continue to see that ball come out a little quicker. But really, offensive line blocked well. So that was something I really liked. So let's see what y'all are saying out there in the comments. J2K talking about Ian Wheeler. Yes, we'll definitely go through some Ian Wheeler stuff. And Do It All saying, Caleb said he expected Rome to run towards the corner. That's good insight of the end zone because of the defenders. Rome cut his route short. Oh, so miscommunication. Thanks for that. And then also J2K, yeah, and it was a catchable ball if Rome went to the corner. That is very true. Very true. And then also Skoke saying, I'm honestly most impressed how Caleb commands the huddle. Absolutely loved it. Yeah, just agreed. You just really saw, like, this guy's a leader. And it felt like this is a quarterback. It felt like, okay, he's still growing. He's still developing. And like I said, he needs to speed up the time in the pocket, right? And also, too, just something that also impressed us all. It's the pressure's coming around him in, like, for that screen pass. And what does he do? He does this weird side flip to get the ball out to Swift. And that throw, I remember watching that going, Justin's not making that throw. I don't mean to look at previous quarterbacks. I don't mean to compare it to the X, but would Justin make that throw? Think about that. Justin would probably get sacked, or he might run it. That's what he's able to do. That's what Caleb's able to do. He's able to get the ball out quick. He's able to just pass it out there. Bears Bones, my friend, what is good? He's saying, Bears Bones saying he looked smooth. So, yeah, it looked good. Now, the only other thing that we have to bring up, because I have it in my notes. I have my notes right over here. There was that really dumb pass to Rome where it looked like it should have been picked off, that type of thing. That was the only thing that that it was a little like, okay, man, I don't really get that. But obviously it fell incomplete. They threw a flag on it, and ultimately, you know, it didn't really count against the Bears. That is the only other thing that I'm like, okay, what did he think about that? What was that whole purpose of that throw? But other than that, it was good. Like, it was a really good showing. You saw everything that we were expecting of that, and it was good. But let's let's continue to talk about the starters, because I'll probably get back to Caleb. I'll probably talk about it again because, come on, we're Bears fans, and when we see a quarterback do well, we're like, oh my God, this is a Hall of Famer. Just put him in the Hall of Fame right now. So let's talk a little bit more about the starters, though, besides Caleb Williams, because I think when you look at the starters, Swift, I've been critical of the signing, right, because I don't believe in paying running backs or like that much. But Swift looked good. The little cuts that he made upfield when he got that screen, you saw an additional burst to his game that Khalil and Roshan just don't have. I mean, especially Roshan, he's a power guy. But Khalil being that quicker guy, you see what Swift brings rather than Khalil when the ball's in his hands. Yet again, people saying at training camp, you see that difference. It was nice to see that translate over to the field. And also, when we're looking at the starters, anyone else pleasantly surprised with this offensive line? Because, yeah, I know Ed Oliver was injured the first play and you didn't have Von Miller out there, but still you're going against NFL professionals that are backups, that are people that come in when the starters are injured. But I felt that this offensive line held up very well. Like, Caleb was able to hold the ball a little bit longer at the very beginning. So, very pleasantly surprised, very happy to see that they're holding up, because otherwise we're like, okay, Ryan Bates isn't out there, so we throw in the backup, we throw in Pryor, and Pryor held his own at right guard. Tevin did Tevin things. Braxton Jones, I thought, looked really good, especially in pass protection. There was one snap that I watched where there was like two people, and I would like to see the all-22 on it. It seemed like he didn't block either, and he went straight down the middle like he was pulling to the right-hand side, so I'd love to see the all-22 on that. Darnell Wright, I thought, had some like ups and downs, but overall, this offensive line looked pretty darn good. Like, they held their own without being like Swiss cheese. So seeing that, I do want to watch the true all-22 to try and just break it down, because I really want to watch this game again, especially the first quarter. But it looked good. It looked solid. And now are all of my offensive line worries away? No, it was a good outing for them. They really didn't allow any sacks. Caleb didn't get sacked. He got hit because there was a screen pass, but I thought that it was pretty darn good. Also, Ron, what is good out there, my friend, saying defense. J2K saying, I thought Braxton played well. Caleb is so good at moving in the pocket. Yeah, like you really did see it when pressure's coming, and it is that like he keeps his eyes downfield. I don't know what that whole, like, maybe it's just coaching that he's just trying to do this, but when the defensive lineman was coming at him, he kind of stuck the ball out. Like, at first I thought he was like trying to get a flag thrown, but instead like puts the ball out there. So yeah, offensive line, good performance. Just the offense, good. Now, actually, one other little piece, because this was something that we were worried about with just hearing everything out of camp. Guys in the red zone. Bears, we gotta bear down in the red zone. We saw the Bears get field goals, not touchdowns. That's something that when we hear about all the 2-minute drills that they have, we're not hearing a lot about the touchdowns that are taking place. It's Caleb Williams, phenomenal drive, ends in a field goal. Caleb Williams, phenomenal drive, ends in a field goal. We need to start to see touchdowns. You need to get 6 in the NFL. That is something that we need to just continue to monitor. How are they going to get the points in the red zone? That is a key thing that, yet again, they need to continue to work on. New offense, how are you going to then punch it in? You have the weapons. You have Gerald Everett. You have Cole Kmet. You have Roma Dunze. You have Keenan Allen. You have these big weapons. Use them and score some points. So that is something that we really do need to see, is that. And Ron saying, Caleb played like Mahomes. You love to see it. You love to see it. Because you do see the like very similar pieces with that. But let's go over to the defensive side of the ball now too. So we're talking about the offense. The defense did not allow a touchdown. And yeah, we allowed 2 field goals? But that ain't bad. I really do feel like the defense played very well. And also too, like, I like the defense. The defense played well as a unit. I did think Jalen Jones allowed a handful of passes. So it was a little bit like, okay, that might be one of my down plays. But yet again, corners are always hard to watch when you're watching just the normal us view rather than the all 22. But defense thought was good. Then I also watched a little bit of Walker, and Walker seemed to have a little bit extra pop in his game, a little bit extra strength. I thought that Walker looked really good on the opposite defensive end spot. Watching Javon Dexter, I've heard some people say that it was a negative. Now, watching his form, he did get upright a handful of times. That was something that I was like, oh, come on, man. But I saw a quicker step. I saw a little bit more maneuvering on the interior. So I saw him moving people rather than just kind of being very stagnant. So that was at least good. You know, it wasn't this dominant, like getting pressures and getting sacks, but I thought that Dexter I thought that he showed improvement from the last season, which you'd want to see. Didn't think he dominated, but I don't think it was a loss like I've heard already some people kind of claiming. But yeah, he needs to just work on not being so upright and just continue to do that. So just continue to work, continue to grind, and I think he will look good. Also, Ron saying too, 33-9, dominating. Yeah, Bears dominant today for sure. But the defense, yeah, I thought it was a solid performance, good performance overall. Obviously, when you have sweatback, other things like that, I think you're going to see it kind of turn up a notch. Also, Philip, my friend, what is good? Happy Saturday night. He was impressed with Caleb. He looked poised under pressure. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, loves Caleb Williams. Just, it's a good feeling to see somebody throwing that ball. So, yeah, really, really liked him out there. But, yeah, defense, good. Thought it was solid. Nothing really like over the top from the defensive starters. But actually, but we'll talk about the defensive backups later, because there's definitely one person we're just going to be gushing over for this defense. Don't you worry about that. I see Bears Bones Booker, J2K Booker. We'll talk about him. Don't you worry. But let's talk about the offense, the backup offense, stock up, stock down. So first off, just to kind of put the bow on the starters, stock up Caleb Williams. I thought he looked good. And for a rookie to do what he was able to do, like we said, to be able to call out, like identify a blitz, throw the ball out quick, next level stuff for someone that's so early on to this offense. For him to be able to get the ball out in different directions, and for us to see he does have that archery ace that he can just like throw the ball wherever he wants and puts it exactly where it needs to be. That Aaron Rodgers-ness to him, he showed that. And he had a good performance. This is what you wanted to see. You wanted to see good traits. You wanted to see him do well, and there's things that he can work on. Stock up for me for sure. But also next stock up person I want to talk about. And also let me know your stock up across the offense. Stock up on the offense. I'm going to say Bill Murray. Bill Murray at right guard. My dad, like I said, my dad and I were watching the game, and I'm like, watch this play right now, and I rewind it, and it's Bill Murray just taking a linebacker on a ride. He's just like literally moving this linebacker over 10 yards and just putting him out of the play. The guy didn't even have a chance, but Bill just kept on pushing. I thought that Bill Murray looked good. But then also too, just the offensive line, stock up. I thought that they played a lot better, just overall as a unit, especially the starters. Then I thought the interior was playing a little bit better. Carvin did have a little bit of a mistake at one of the points, but it was interesting to see Carvin as the backup center versus Doug Kramer. I thought that was at least interesting. And here I can even pull up the depth chart just so that we can start to see that a little bit too. But yeah, offensive line, that's what I felt. But let's talk a little bit of, or actually other stock ups. Ian Wheeler. How could I forget? Ian Wheeler is probably one of the biggest stock up. What did we all think? Because we've been talking about him on this show where he's got the speed. Like I said, I've watched his tape. This guy's got speed. This guy's got pop. I didn't expect him to have the strength that he put out there on tape. The strength that Ian Wheeler played with, that he was just popping into people and pushing people back and trying to score touchdowns. That was something I did not expect with Ian Wheeler. And you see that and you go, okay, well, the guy that we got from the Browns, we might not need him. Travis Homer, I think that he's a very valuable veteran. He's a very well-rounded veteran. But you see an Ian Wheeler and you go, man, if this guy can play some special teams, this guy's really good. This guy could make the team. And yeah, he's going against fourth stringers out there. He's going against bottom of the roster people. But the dude is a dog. He's got the speed. He's plowing over people. Even if you take out the whole plowing over people, the speed that he provides at that running back position is very, very valuable. J2K saying he looks like Marion Barber, right? With speed. That speed was very, very good to see. And just Ian Wheeler, very good game overall. Just awesome to see him out there. I hope he gets more snaps. I hope they put Homer on the bench. You know what you get with Travis Homer. Like, you really do. So Ian Wheeler, really, really like what I saw out of him. But let's also, wide receivers, nobody really stock up for me, but I will talk about stock down. Let me know your stock down for offense. Because for me, stock down for offense, what the heck do we have as backup wide receivers? Like, should we be concerned? Tyler Scott looks lost, and that's part of it. Tyler Scott is this speedster, this quickster, but he needs to put it all together. And I'm rooting for the guy. I really am. I liked him coming out because of that deep ball threat. But Tyler Scott, he didn't look great. He drops the handoff, right? That obviously looked bad, but then that was all that we really saw. It just was another knock on him. And then Velus, stock up as a running back. I thought as a running back, you saw where he's got that value, but then he drops the kickoff. And then he trips on the turf, where you're like, oh man, why do you seem like a blend of Cordero Patterson and Kevin White? Combined, where when we would see White play, you're like, dude, what are you doing? Like, White just does these plays where you're like, what the heck, man? Like, what the heck? But Velus has this incredible speed. He has this playmaking ability to him, but he has this head-scratchingness of Kevin White. And so that's the thing that is so hard. But that's what's frustrating. And that's when you look at the backups for the wide receivers. We have the depth chart up right now. Tyler Scott, like we've said, Keenan Allen has gotten banged up in the past. We need to see Tyler Scott step up. But then DeAndre Carter, we didn't really see that wide receiverness. He's more of that returner. Velus, more of a returner than a receiver. So that's where we look at like a Colin Johnson, Dante Pettis. Colin Johnson didn't really I don't really even remember seeing Colin Johnson out there, but Colin Johnson is a big reason why we all want to see him be the guy, be the person that's out there. So that to me is the backup wide receivers stock down. Because when we see people do well, it's the tight ends. It's Tommy Sweeney. It's Brendan Bates. It's Stephen Carlson that are getting the catches, not the other wide receivers. Because all the other wide receivers, it's Colin Johnson getting fed. Or Dante Pettis. Where Dante Pettis is just, it's like EQ St. Brown, where you're like, oh man, he's probably going to make the roster, but you want someone better. Like you want to upgrade that. You want to upgrade it. So that is something that just stock down backup wide receivers just as a whole. As a whole, completely. Also, Hendricks, what is good, my friend? Same. Caleb, Williams, Times. Yeah, it's just overall, that's my big stock down was them. But then the other stock down that I'll say, the backup tackles. Larry Borum did not look that great when he was out there. And then Jake Curran, I thought he had a better game than he had before, but that's where I also have a little bit of nervousness of, okay, if one of your tackles does go down, Braxton was banged up last season, and Darnell Wright was banged up a little bit in camp. Who's going to back them up? Because to me, I saw Matt Pryor come in and Bill Murray come in on the interior and play well at that right guard spot. And this was a day that we did not have Ryan Bates out there. So I feel actually a little bit better about the interior. And then the backups, I go, okay, what do we have, right? What do we have with that? So that is what I'm curious about, and a little stock down with it. So also Shy Drax saying, great stash. Thank you. I am on vacation mode right now. I'll be out on vacation this week. going to Bears training camp, other thing like that. So yeah, normally when I'm on vacation, I just let it grow a little bit more. So that's what I'm going to try and do. So I'm glad you noticed that. Hendricks, what's up? Bears have a legit quarterback. That is the thing I'm pumped up, man. It's looking good. It's looking good. So let's talk a little bit more. So that's really the offense, and also stock up. I thought Tommy Sweeney looked good. Stephen Carlson, I always kind of like back and forth on, but I like the backups. I like the backup tight ends. I thought that they played well, and like I said, they're the ones that get targets rather than your backup wide receivers. So backup wide receivers, come on, step up. And then the only other thing I want to talk about just with this offense, the quarterback competition. I thought Tyson Bagent looked solid. Nothing like, oh my gosh, he's incredible. But Bagent has that Kyle Orton aura to him where I don't think he's going to like take over, but I think that he's just going to kind of manage that game. But Brett Rippon, the little that he was out there, looked good. So I like this whole backup quarterback situation we have. And my impressions on Austin Reed, very similar to like what I mentioned when we had the previews of all the quarterbacks for those that watched that episode. Austin Reed to me he is not afraid to attack the middle of the field, but his arm is weak. His arm is very weak with that, and you kind of saw that on display where if you had to try and push it, he really had to put absolutely everything behind the ball to get it to where it needed to go. So that's my take on the offense. So let me know, was there anybody else that I missed as we are breaking it down? I'm also just double checking my stuff just to see anything else. Like we said, red zone, they just got to capitalize with the starters, because after the starters were out, we kept scoring touchdowns. We kept scoring in the red zone. So that's something we just need to make sure that we capitalize on. But let's flip over to this defense. And I've been waiting. How long have I been going live? 17 minutes or whatever, 27 minutes. And I have not gushed over Austin Booker yet. Austin Booker is the man. Let's give him some claps, man. Austin Booker, holy crap. You can just watch him. Like, he needs to play every preseason game, because when he's out there on defense, he is so much fun to watch. And there was one play that I was like, did he just throw his offensive lineman out of the way and then turn back and talk smack to him? Because I love that. I replayed it and I was like, yes, he did. There's one play, he literally tosses the tackle aside. The tackle goes flying, and then as he's going, I think he like went back and like tried to get on a tackle, and then goes back and he's jawing at the guy. I'm like, that is the guy. Like what Skokes is saying, Booker equals dog. Booker is just a dog out there. And like we said, comes away with 2.5 sacks. But here's the thing, right? Because everyone, I know some people say Hardy. I think that Hardy had a good game. I'm not trying to deter from that. But they had like basically the same stats. This is the difference, though, between stats and performance. Because what you saw Austin Booker do, actually on one of Hardy's sacks, it was on that third down where, okay, what are they going to do? The Bears accepted the 10-yard penalty, right? And so they pushed back. Hardy ends up getting the sack. But watch what Booker does on that play. Booker goes on Booker kind of cuts more on the inside, literally spins the tackle around and shoves the offensive tackle into Shane Buechele, the quarterback. And then so Buechele goes back and gets hit from behind from Hardy. Hardy still makes the play. Hardy still beats his guy eventually and gets there. But Booker's the one that disrupted that play, that threw it off its timing, that really caused all that stuff to go down. And Booker just continues to just play like crazy. When you talk about someone that's hustling, Booker's on every single play. I was surprised to just see 5 tackles, because every time you see Austin Booker, if he didn't make the play, he's turning around, making the tackle, turning around, going after the play. That is the type of player that you want to have as a Bear. And also, perfect segue, J2K saying that natural spin move that he had too. You're seeing different pass rush moves that he said that he's learning. He's trying to learn these different moves in his toolbox, and you're really starting to see that with Austin Booker. And that is why it's so exciting, because he's a developmental pass rusher. And you see what he's doing now. And then you compare it to like a Dominique Robinson, who's 3 years in the league, which we'll talk about. Actually, starting snaps, we talked about the starters. He had a very, very good kind of shot the gap, broke up a big third down to force a fourth down. So Dominique Robinson had one of the plays that I haven't seen Dom Rob make a play like that since year one. So Dominique Robinson, kudos for that one play. But after that, didn't really see much. But Booker, that is the type of stuff that you want to see. And to me, that's your backup. That's your backup guy. That is your number 3 defensive end that you have on this team, because he's showing everything that you want. And he was in on a lot more rundowns, which I thought that he improved on. Because last game, when I was watching his whole run snaps, he was just trying to get by his guy and do different things like that. I thought this time around, he looked much more disciplined in the run game. Just thought Booker, really, really good job, man. Just incredible. That's what a true NFL backup is supposed to look like against those backups. So who is the backup that didn't look that way? So I'll talk a little stock down. Stock down, someone who I was watching, Zach Pickens. Another week, yes, Zach Pickens came away with a sack, but I did not see, there was one time he was completely stonewalled by Van Pran, the center. I didn't really see much movement with Zach Pickens, which I was very disappointed about. Because if you are the primary backup at the defensive tackle spot, you would like to see more domination. Maybe not to Austin Booker's level, but at least a lot more pass rush wins and run stop wins that we did not see with Zach Pickens. So Zach Pickens stock down on my spot, but then obviously Austin Booker, super high skyrocket because he just played very, very, very well. And I think that's where you're not supposed to expect something out of a rookie. And what he's showing right now is what you want to see out of someone, drafted in the 5th? Just absolutely incredible that we were able to get him. But let's continue. I gotta stop talking about the greatness that is what Austin Booker put out there. But the other thing, just defensive players, stock up, stock down. Let me know what you thought of other players too. Khalid Kareem, I think, also had another very good day. Yet again, it's not like Austin Booker level or anything like that, but I thought Khalid Kareem kind of showed something as someone who is, I think, listed as the 4th defensive end. It showed you a lot more than some of these other defensive linemen that are out there, that, hey, I can give you some pretty darn good production. Stash me on the practice squad, right? And then on the flip side, I thought Jeremy Chroma did not have a great game. I thought that he looked more like, yet again, kind of continued that whole Travis Bell mantra where good athlete, not really putting it together as a player. That was something that I thought yet again, it was kind of the similar thing. Chroma, we didn't see a lot of snaps in the Hall of Fame game, but I just thought Khalid Kareem backed up his performance that he had last week. And then Chroma kind of backed up what I saw already, where I just didn't really see that football player out of him, just a good athlete that's out there. Otherwise, just looking at the defensive line, Daniel Hardy, like I said, I obviously stock up with him because of just the stats that he was able to put out there. And I thought that he was solid. But I think it's going to be a competition between him and Khalid Kareem as a practice squad player, because I thought both looked pretty darn good. That is something that's going to be more of a battle than I think like a Chroma, unfortunately, because I know a lot of us were really hoping that Chroma would do something a little bit more. But yeah, otherwise defensive tackles, nothing too crazy. We saw Deshaun Mallory out there, which I really didn't think we saw during the Hall of Fame game, and Dwarmafor was okay. Byron Cowart, did not see him out there. But let's talk linebackers. Perfect transition, Bears bones. We also saw the pick 6 out of Micah Baskerville. Thought Baskerville had obviously a good game with that. But also Amen, I thought, had a better game than he had last week. Last week was an embarrassment in pass coverage. Did not look good at all. But then we see him come back out, and I thought I had his stats actually out here as well. Yeah, PFF charted him with 3 defensive stops, which means that you were the one that stopped the defensive play and also had a pass breakup. Very good game for Amen. I thought that he performed a lot better. He did still let up a bad play, but still looked better. So I will say stock up because he had a very bad outing first. look good this week. Also, stock down in Noah Sewell. Did not play. Yet again, you kind of want to see that player out there. You need to see it. And also, speaking of people that weren't out there, Nate Davis stock down as well because the guards look good. The guards were playing well. So anytime that you have those guys playing well, it's obviously harder to come back, even though I do think Nate Davis is a better player than some of those players. But yeah, deep linebackers, kind of hard to kind of do a stock up, stock down with. But other than that, safeties, Elijah Hicks was in on a play. Jonathan Owens was in on a play. Like I said, Jalen Jones, I thought like up and down. Didn't really see many other players out there do anything else kind of too crazy because yet again, hard to kind of find that. Hard to kind of see that secondary out there. So let me see. Daria saying Bayless needs to learn how to catch the ball, right? Right when we're like, oh yeah, he's going to be a running back. He's looking good. And then kickoff and it's like, oh man, come on, man. Come on. But then also Geek Bear, let's go Bears. What is good, my friend? But then also too, I'm just like kind of looking through anybody else. Blackwell missed a big tackle. Yeah, that wasn't great to see out there. Other than that, just kind of looking. Yeah, Hardy I thought was solid. Going through my notes. Yeah, the last little bit. Let's talk about some special teams, shall we? Torrey Taylor goes out there. And I thought Torrey Taylor had a very good game. Very easy. Like we were able to see what the Crocodile Punter was able to do. And it was good. Pin them down into the inside of the 10-yard line. Love to see that. Love to see him out there. And it kind of talks about what we talked about yesterday, where I know that the question was asked, why was Torrey Taylor not out there? And I responded with, my feeling was they just want to see, they just want Waitman to then kind of have some reps out there just so that they can showcase him. I don't think they're like trying to hide Taylor and no one can see what he's up to and other things like that because, like I said, they have tape on him. I think that the Bears, as we see with Ryan Poles, they're trying to do right by players. They want to be an organization that players want to play for. That, hey, I know I'm going to get cut, but I know the Bears are going to do right by me. And that's what I think they're truly doing with Waitman. Also, we saw Lyons out there snapping the ball at the long snapper position. But yeah, let's talk kick returns and punt returns. Bayless out there dropping the ball. And also, something that I want to see with the punt returns, because something that just to call out, we saw Carter ignore a punt as a veteran, ignores the punt gets pinned down on the 2-yard line, but thank God we have Caleb Williams to bring us down for the drive. But the only other thing I want to bring up is I really hope Blackwell Stroman or even Blackwell, one of our corners, I hope one of our corners can be our punt returner. Mainly because we talk about our wide receivers and how there's some, we have so many people that we're trying to have as the returners, Bayless and Carter and other people like that. If you can get a corner that can be that punt returner, hey, we saw Blackwell have a good, it was Stroman that had a good punt return. If Stroman can be your punt returner and give you good yardage, right? I don't think he's going to be this absolute freak of nature returning, but if he can be a reliable returner, that can be very valuable because he's going to most likely make the team at the corner position. So if you can have another corner that can tackle, that can be on your kick returns and punt returns and stuff like that, but also be your punt returner, I really like that because now you can have more wide receivers that are good at receiving, that can catch the ball. So if anyone were to go down, you still have someone that can step up and be out there. So that's something that I really like about, that I'm kind of hoping takes place a little bit. So that's my whole piece on that. But like I said, let me know what you believe down in the comments. And now it's time to say our bear of the game. Who will you give the game ball to as the player of the game? The person that deserves it the most. Because this is what I'll do. I'll cheat a little bit. Because first off, I want to see what everyone else is thinking. So, to me, from a player of the game, if I were to give a game ball to someone, I would give the game ball to Caleb. Because, hey, this is your first game. and you look darn good out there, right? In the locker room, you give him the ball. But the person that I would give the ball to, the person that I would say is the player of the game. The player of the game to me is Austin Booker. Just the disruption that he was able to cause on the defensive line. The tenacity that he played with. The way that he embodied the hits principle. To me, that is the player of the game. That is the person that I want to see out there. That is the person that I would give the game ball to. That is my bear of the game, because he was the guy. He played throughout the game and just was great. So let me know who you all think is the bear of the game that you would give that game ball out to, or who's the bear of the game. Game ball, like I said, I'd give it to Caleb because it's like, hey, first game, way to go. But the bear of the game, that's Austin Booker. So little caveat there, but let's see the comments. J2K saying, and this is why you can't keep Bayless if he's just a kick returner, not a running back, wide receiver. And Broski, what's good, my friend? He says, hopefully you're not talking about Bayless. We were for a little bit. Bayless, it's, Bayless is always a little sore subject, but, running back Bayless looked good. But yet again, we all saw Ian Wheeler out there, and we saw what Wheeler was able to do, and we saw the speed that he was able to play with, and it goes, okay, now if Bayless is running back, how much do you trust him versus someone else? So that's my thing. Also, Broski calling out, yeah, my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles shirt. Oh yeah, gotta rep the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was looking at that. I'm like, I'm gonna rock this today. So yeah, cowabunga indeed. Also, J2K saying Ian Wheeler is his bear of the game because he's a UDFA and played great. Even if that's backups, he got to showcase his skills. He won't last long on our practice squad, in his opinion. Yeah, I liked Wheeler. I definitely think that how he played. I think when we have those games where the backups like predominantly play, I can't wait to see Wheeler. I want to see Wheeler play a whole half. Yet again, like I mentioned before, I don't really want to see Homer out there. You know what you have with Homer. I want to see Wheeler. I want to see how he can play, because that is what I really want to see. So that's my bear of the game. That's how I'm feeling about it. So what is next for our Chicago Bears? Like I said, I'm going to be at training camp on Tuesday, and also the Bengals are in town, so the Bengals will be practicing against the Bears. So I will have you out. I will give you all the information that you need with that. So you're going to make sure you want to like and subscribe out there. If you're already watching, make sure to drop a like. Tell your friends about the show too. It helps the show out tremendously. And Bears win 2-0 in the preseason. And with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a bride.